What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. I hope you guys are doing well. And today I'm bringing you guys a 2022 NBA mock draft. Thank you guys so much for clicking on this video. I really do appreciate it. If you end up enjoying this video, be free to give me a thumbs up and click that subscribe button for more content. The next goal is 4K subscribers. Just thank you guys so much for the great amount of support. This channel literally wouldn't be possible without you guys. You guys are absolutely unreal. So not everyone's going to agree with this mock draft. Not just one, there's going to be not even one person that agrees, because at the end of the day, it is a mock draft. There's a bunch of different scenarios. You could say this guy fits better in that system, or they have a point guard already. You don't have to draft a point guard, but then you could also counter ratio that by saying yeah, they have a point guard maybe they believe in, but this dude's just way too talented. He slipped in the draft and you just have to draft him. You can't afford to pass up on that type of talent. And I feel like this is a very interesting draft. You could say it's a top-heavy draft of the top three guys, but then you could also say there's some guys that have a higher upside and may end up being better down the road than a Paolo, for example. Just giving an example there. You never know in the draft. It could be a crapshoot, or it could just end up being absolutely amazing. Look back at the 2000 draft. That was not a good draft whatsoever, even though you had a Keegan Murray, who I think is an underrated player. During his time with the New Jersey Nets, he was with the Knicks, the Nuggets, and all that. But I'm really excited to film this video. This is 1 through 14, a lottery mock draft. There's going to be more videos to come. I know it's still early in the draft process. March Madness hasn't even happened yet, so we'll get to see if these players are clutch in big-time moments or if they're built for the big-time stage. So no further ado, let's get right into the video, y'all. So with the first overall pick, I have the Orlando Magic selecting Jabari Smith, the power forward from Auburn. You could also go with Paolo here. You could say there's been a lot of flip-flopping going on. They're both not perfect prospects, but they're both extremely talented. So with Jabari Smith, at first the problem was his inconsistency, but he's starting to be a lot more consistent as of late. And when you take a look at his physical tools of his very long wingspan, the way he moves for his size as a power forward, being 6'10" with his length, his talent is just undeniable. He has a very high volume of shooting the three ball, and he's shooting it at a nearly 44% clip. He can shoot threes off the dribble from very deep range. He could pull up from mid-range territory. You could say the deficiency is really maybe driving down the lane. He has to tighten that handle, and his vision maybe needs to get better, or he needs to recognize the floor better when it comes to distributing the basketball, and maybe he does need to get stronger. But this is someone that could defend outside on the perimeter, defend in the inside with his length. He moves his feet extremely well. He has active hands. He's just going to make an immediate impact. At the very least of him starting off his NBA career, he's going to be a very solid defensive player that could definitely just space the floor. And he also has some NBA moves in his arsenal of hezzy pull-ups. He has a nice fadeaway in his bag as of late that he has shown that he's working on. You could say he's kind of risky with the first overall pick because he's thin and there's some inconsistency issues. And you could say when you take someone first overall, they have to be a franchise-changing player. But I definitely do think Jabari Smith could be that, because he has this killer mindset on the court, but also in interviews or just things you hear that he's a great person as well. And I don't think the Magic are as far away as some people are really talking about them as. You could say they're really far away from being a good basketball team, but they're very young, they're very inexperienced, and Jamal Mosley, I do think he has the right mindset. But you have Cole Anthony, who's a great scorer of the basketball. He's starting to progress as a passer. He's just a dog. He's not afraid of the big moment. You have Jalen Suggs, who got off to a very rocky start, but then he started to play a lot better before All-Star Weekend. He's a good defender, a good distributor of the basketball. His three-point shot is a work in progress. He's a good athlete. He just plays with a high-level intensity. You have Franz Wagner, who's one of the top rookies this year, who definitely deserves a lot of credit. You have Wendell Carter Jr., who's taken a huge leap. He's battled some injuries, but he's played some good basketball with the Magic. And you can say Mo Bamba's been better. Let me know down below, would you rather have Wendell Carter Jr. or Mo Bamba? I feel like they're going to stick with the Wendell Carter Jr. moving forward, but that's a nice group of young guys to have there, of a Jabari Smith, Cole Anthony, Suggs, Franz Wagner. That defense is definitely going to be good with Franz Wagner, Wendell Carter Jr., and Jabari Smith. If you keep that together, I actually really do that trio of guys. But with the first overall pick, I have the Orlando Magic selecting Jabari Smith from Auburn, the power forward. With the second overall pick, I have the Detroit Pistons selecting Chet Holmgren, the center from Gonzaga. Chet Holmgren, I think, is one of the most talented players in the draft. There definitely is some red flags when it comes to his size. Yes, he has length, but you could say he's extremely skinny. But I promise you, if you watch him on tape, he doesn't play like he's skinny. Like, some people think, like, skinny soft, when that's not the case. He's an absolute gamer, and he actually plays with a lot of strength. But I do understand there's some deficiencies when it comes to boxing out at the next level. How is he going to really gain his positioning down low? Like, he doesn't have the strongest of legs. How is there going to be any leverage there? But I do think he's not going to translate as a center to the next level. I do think he's going to end up being a power forward alongside Isaiah Stewart, who you could say is the complete opposite of a Chet Holmgren. He's not really someone that's going to space it to the outside of three-point territory, but he's extremely strong. He's going to be able to really take on those tougher assignments that I do like for Chet Holmgren. And he got off to a shaky start, but then he started to really pick it up as of late, even though you could say it was against, like, not the best of competition. They've struggled against top competition in college basketball, but this is someone that's 7 foot, like a center, who I think is going to be a power forward. He can shoot off the dribble. He can shoot in catch-and-shoot situations. He has unlimited range. He has a great nose for the ball if it's on the defense side of the basketball, rebounding. Like, even though it's like he's not the strongest, he still finds ways to position himself and gain rebounds with his length, which he can't always count on at the next level, but it definitely is going to help him out. I do think he's an underrated passer. Like, when he is pushing it in transition, when he is handling the basketball, he keeps his head up. Like, that's another thing. This dude can handle the basketball at 7 foot. He blocks nearly every shot that comes his way, but I do think there's huge pick and pop potential with Cade Cunningham there. Cade Cunningham, with his vision and just, like, having a guy, Chet Holmgren, popping to the outside, rolling to the basket, like, alley-oop situations. You have Sadiq Bey there. You have Isaiah Stewart. Killian Hayes, I do like him more of as like a bench guy. But Chet Holmgren, I think a true test for him is going to be March Madness, when he's playing up against that higher type of competition. Like, he has the talent, all the talent in the world. I'm not sure if he's going to end up being like a Mobley or a Porzingis, but he definitely has the talent there. With the 3rd overall pick, I have the Houston Rockets selecting Paolo Banchero. He's actually the power forward from Duke, and I think he has point forward potential. This dude can handle the rock in the open floor. He's good in the half-court setting. He has brilliant court vision out there on the floor. He's very physical. He's very strong. He's 6'10". He can get to the cup. He doesn't have a crazy burst of getting to the cup, but he does do a good job figuring out these angles, drawing fouls. He's a solid athlete, not a great one, but I do think he's good enough for the next level. Yes, he is struggling from the outside, but he does have a nice hezzy pull-up mid-range in his arsenal, which I really do like. Like, he's just a very interesting player. Looks so effortless for him out there on the floor. He needs to work on his shot from the outside. He has not hit it at an efficient clip at all. And there's decision-making issues when it comes to distributing the basketball. He needs to be more consistently engaged on the defense side of the basketball as well. But if you get a guy who could distribute the basketball, handle the rock, get to the rack, I think it's only going to open up things even more for Jalen Green of dribble penetrating, just really taking pressure off of him. With the 4th overall pick, I have the Oklahoma City Thunder selecting A.J. Griffin, small forward from Duke. And a lot of you guys may be surprised with this pick because he does have an injury history when it comes to his knee, injuring his knee like junior year of high school. And then he injured his knee like in practice, like, so he didn't end up playing the beginning of his freshman year at Duke. And he doesn't have the most of eye-popping numbers, but I feel like the Thunder, they're going to take this guy for potential because he has tons and tons of talent. And I also think Jaden Ivey just wouldn't be the best of fit. Like, Jaden Ivey, he's very talented, but Josh Giddey and Shea already kind of struggle playing without the basketball. So then if you have a Jaden Ivey out there on the floor as well, I think it just makes no sense, and those guys need to get better defensively as well. And I think A.J. Griffin just fits like a glove. Yes, he has the injury history, but he's built like a linebacker. This dude's absolutely huge. He has a long wingspan, so he definitely has high defensive upside, like potential of defending multiple positions. And yes, he doesn't have a crazy sample size. He's only played like 17 games of collegiate basketball this year, but he's shooting nearly 50% from 3 on nearly 4 attempts a game. He's a good athlete. He kind of brings me like some Jimmy Butler vibes when it comes to his demeanor out there on the floor. He has a sidestep in his arsenal. Like, he's shown that he's capable of busting out some spin moves, hesitations. He's crafty. He could attack the defense as well. He's not some like crazy burst first step guy, even though you could say like his athleticism's not really where it's at because he's still maybe coming back from that injury a little bit. So maybe he's not even at his like full potential. But I do like his strength. I like his physicality. I love his competitiveness on both ends of the floor. Like, he has shown that he's not afraid of the big moment, and I think that is huge. But he complements Josh Giddey and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander very well. Now with the 5th overall pick, I have the Indiana Pacers selecting Jaden Ivey, the shooting guard from Purdue. So you get the hometown kid here, which I just think is an amazing fit. You have Tyrese Halliburton, you have Jaden Ivey, Chris Duarte. I do think he is physical enough on the defensive side of the basketball to keep up with those threes. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to create the separation up against those defensive threes, but he's a catch-and-shoot guy. You're not asking a lot from Chris Duarte, even though he has shown he can put the ball on the floor, but obviously he's not some elite like shot creator, if you know what I mean. But just Tyrese Halliburton running the floor with it, Jaden Ivey, like, he's athletic, lightning fast, crafty. He's still improving as a playmaker, but he's taken a huge leap when it comes to his three-point efficiency. You can see at times, though, that his shot is flat and he's still struggling from the free throw line, but he's nice finesse around the rim. He could break guys down off the dribble. He's absolutely fearless, and I like what the Pacers are doing over there. You have a Tyrese Halliburton. You have Chris Duarte. You're going to have a creator here of Jaden Ivey, who's going to bring a lot of excitement and a winning attitude. Isaiah Jackson, who you drafted, who's a defensive stud. Terry Taylor, who's been a nice, like, undrafted pickup, who's been playing some underrated basketball. Jaden Ivey is the no-brainer pick here. It would just be absolutely amazing for the Indiana Pacers. Now with the 6th overall pick, I have the Sacramento Kings selecting Johnny Davis. You could say he's a shooting guard / point guard. I do think he's going to translate over as a shooting guard to the next level, and I feel like they need a creator next to De'Aaron Fox. They need someone who's capable of shooting the basketball, and don't let his three-point percentage really fool you, because you could say he's taking on a bigger role this year in collegiate basketball. So you could say his three-point percentage is dipped because of that. He's looking to be a creator more, and he has a higher volume. Last year, he shot 38% from three. I know he's only shooting 33%, but he has shown that he's capable of knocking down threes from the outside. He has a very smooth release, nice, smooth elevation with ease. He's a 3-level scorer. He's great at drawing fouls, knocking down shots from mid-range territory. He's taken some big-time shots. But having a creator next to Fox is awesome, because it's definitely going to take a load off of him. And Johnny Davis, I think, is an excellent pick. And you should be excited if you're a Sacramento Kings fan, if you go on to draft him. With the 7th overall pick, I have the Portland Trailblazers selecting Benedict Mathurin here. And it was really tough for me to pick for the Portland Trailblazers, because I'm really confused what their direction is. They have Damian Lillard. He wants to be there, but they're also, like, stuck in the position that they have Anthony Simons, who's absolutely balling. So are they just going to be like, yeah, Lillard, we really appreciate what you did for this team, but we're kind of stuck in the middle of nowhere. We might have to build young, and they're just going to trade him, even though he doesn't want to be traded? I'm not sure if that's going to happen, but I just decided to take one of the most talented players in the draft here, Benedict Mathurin. He's a shooting guard who I think would be great next to Simons or Lillard, whoever ends up like playing at that point guard position. He's extremely athletic. He's a freak of nature in the open floor and in the half-court setting. When he finds a crease in the defense, he could just attack it very hard and dribble penetrate, and he does a very good job finishing at the basket. He could space the floor as well. He's an excellent three-point shooter. He has a lot of elevation on his jumper, so he could hit big-time shots over like collapsing defense or just like more than one guy defending him outside on the perimeter. Like, he can get after it on the defense side of the basketball. He kind of does remind me of a Hamidou Diallo and like a Zach LaVine in his Timberwolves days, except better on the defense side of the basketball. But I actually do think this is a good pick for the Portland Trailblazers. Now with the 8th overall pick, I have the San Antonio Spurs selecting Jalen Duren, the center from Memphis. And this dude is extremely intriguing because Memphis is just a mess right now. Emoni Bates, like, yes, he's young. He's very young. Like, he's not even eligible for the draft this year, but he's definitely not lived up to expectations. They're calling him the next Kevin Durant and all that. But luckily, they did end up with Jalen Duren. He's not putting up some crazy statistical numbers or anything like that, like, right now. But, like, yes, he's very strong. He's a good rim protector. He's a big-time lob threat. Like, his athleticism's off the charts. He doesn't space the floor, and he could be, like, undisciplined at times. But I do think he is capable of working on those deficiencies of his game, of being, like, undisciplined, like getting into foul trouble, maybe not always playing straight hands up fundamental defense. And I think he has a lot of great talent, and I think the Spurs could definitely fix the deficiencies in his game. With the 9th overall pick, I have the New York Knicks selecting point guard from Kentucky, Ty Washington. And the Knicks, they've been looking for a point guard of the future or a point guard now and moving forward for a very, very long time. Just the history of the New York Knicks point guard position. If it's Walt Frazier, if it's Derek Harper, Stephon Marbury, just Raymond Felton. Like, we've had so many damn point guards. Frank Ntilikina, Dennis Smith Jr., Rod Strickland, just so many point guards have played in a New York Knicks uniform, and we're looking for some longevity here. And Ty Washington, I do think, is a good guy to bank on. I think he's capable of being a point guard at the next level. He has very good vision of reading the defense, of where it's going when it comes to running the pick and roll. He really does run it to perfection. He's a sniper from the outside. He could pull up from mid-range territory. He's a nice floater in his bag. He's crafty. He does a great job of changing the pace of the game, and he just reads the passing lane well when it comes to defending. And I do think this is a good fit next to an RJ Barrett to really set him up and just set up the other players on the New York Knicks roster. He makes everyone around him better. He's a competitor on both ends of the floor, and I feel like the New York Knicks need that. Now, with the 10th overall pick, I have the Portland Trailblazers selecting power forward Keegan Murray from Iowa. And he kind of reminds me of Obi Toppin a little bit coming out, even though I do think he's more polished. He runs the floor extremely well. He's a good athlete. He can knock it down from the outside, and I feel like they need to simplify the offense more for Damian Lillard and not always rely on these outside shots. And you have a guy like Keegan Murray who's a great athlete and can run the floor, but he can also space it to the outside. He has a nice touch. He's a nice back-to-the-basket game. And I feel like Keegan Murray could be a nice player for the Portland Trailblazers, just going one of the best players available here because you're very uncertain about the Trailblazers' future with no McCollum, and who knows what's going on with that Lillard situation. With the 11th overall pick, the Memphis Grizzlies select Jaden Hardy, who actually plays for the G League Ignite squad over there. So yes, he is playing with some former NBA players. He's being coached or mentored by guys that played in the NBA. So I definitely always think that is an advantage. But if you have a raw game and if you're not taking notes, that's definitely a downside. But he's a shooting guard who has some insane range. Like, I remember watching his highlights in high school. Like, he averaged 30 points, like 9 rebounds, 8 assists. That is high school at the end of the day. But he's always had talent. But like I said, he has insane range. He's an effortless scorer of the basketball. But yes, he can play erratic. That's why I do think it's a perfect situation going to the Grizzlies. He's going to a healthy culture that is winning with some young guys. They're not afraid to play their young guys, but they're also not afraid to hold them accountable. There's that mixture of showing love to them, but also like saying you got to play better or do this better. So there's no rush to play him, which I love because they're a winning squad, but they're young at the same time. And at some point, he will get playing time. Like, I'm honestly surprised Zaire Williams ended up getting some time because I thought he was really raw coming out of the draft, and the Grizzlies have carved out a nice role for him. So the Grizzlies, they get another young stud who may be raw, but he's a very good basketball player or a very good talent, Jaden Hardy. With the 12th overall pick, I have the Washington Wizards selecting Kendall Brown, the small forward from Baylor. So the Wizards, they've had this big-time deficiency of defense for a very long time. Like, they started off playing some good defensive basketball, but they really, just tailed off, or they really fell off on that side of the ball. So, yes, they have a Deni Avdija, who's a solid defender. They have Corey Kispert, who could shoot the basketball. But I felt like they needed more pop when it came to their athleticism and being a standout defender. He is raw offensively, but he has a very great work ethic. So I have the Washington Wizards selecting Kendall Brown, the small forward from Baylor, with a pretty high upside. With the 13th overall pick, I have the Atlanta Hawks selecting Patrick Baldwin Jr. from Milwaukee. This guy could hoop. He has a very lethal shot, very smooth. He's off the dribble potential. Like, he has shown flashes to shoot it off the dribble. You could say it's to tighten his handle. But there's kind of an uncertainty when it comes to DeAndre Hunter's future with the Hawks. Like, I do like DeAndre Hunter's game. He's a good defensive player. He's a good athlete. He could shoot it from the outside, but you could say he's been disappointing this year. Someone you've taken with the 4th overall pick. He's had, the injury bug going on. So is that someone you really want to extend moving forward? That's going to be an interesting contract situation. Someone who you could say hasn't really shown you enough. So I feel like you can get a good talent here of Patrick Baldwin Jr. for the future alongside of a Trae Young, a Kevin Huerter, whoever you want to put out there on the floor moving forward, Kongwu. Who knows, Clint Capella may not be there moving forward. So I have the Atlanta Hawks selecting Patrick Baldwin Jr. from Milwaukee. With the 14th overall pick, I have the Charlotte Hornets selecting Mark Williams, the center from Duke. And you take a look at the Charlotte Hornets. They're a very young, up and coming. I think they're going to be very good down the road. You have LaMelo Ball. You have Miles Bridges. You have good talent. Gordon Hayward. But you have James Bouknight. I really like the way their team is constructed. Even Kelly Oubre is playing good basketball. I didn't expect them to really blossom and have this huge year. They really do have talent. So you get Mark Williams, a center from Duke. You could say they don't have their center of the future. They did go on to select Kai Jones, but I'm not sure if they're 100% going to be sold on him moving forward. He is raw. But Mark Williams, I feel like he's more of a guy that's more NBA ready than a Kai Jones. Kai Jones has unicorn potential, don't get me wrong. But I'm not sold on Mason Plumlee moving forward. And Montrezl Harrell, you could say he's undersized when it comes to the center position, and he does have inconsistency issues when it comes to defense, even though he does play hard. But you get a guy here, Mark Williams, who's very strong. This dude is a massive down low, pause. He has great touch. He has a good feel for the game. He's shown that he could distribute the basketball in some big-time spots, and he's an elite rim protector. And he could be a big-time lob threat for LaMelo Ball. He just does such a great job of just having great nose for the ball, of he knows where the ball is going to come off of the rim, and just has such a great feel for the game. I feel like he's one of the most underrated players in this draft. But that is the end of the mock draft of the lottery of the 2022 NBA mock draft. Let me know down below if you enjoyed. I really appreciate your support, and peace out, y'all.